I felt like I've reached a rock bottom, and the only way out from a rock bottom is through. You have to break through, and then when you break through, you build self-esteem. I think as a mom, that process of healing from postpartum and choosing my son and choosing my family and choosing myself day after day after day, even when I wanted to give up, helped me build self-esteem.
Welcome back to the Active Ingredient Podcast. This episode is with Anabel González, who is the founder of the recently launched hyper-intentional pre, pro, and postbiotic brand called Good Bacteria. And I knew I had to have Anabel on the show because I feel like the way that she is doing probiotics or pre, pro, and postbiotics in this market and in this day and age is at a level of integrity that I have not seen, and that I felt so called to everything about how she was doing it that I was like, yes, 1000%. Yes. I want to have this conversation with her. I want to hear more about it. I started taking it a few days before even having the conversation with her, but the conversation with her had me commit to now taking Good Bacteria probiotics for myself moving forward. And this is 0% sponsored. I always like to share with you things that I feel like energetically there's something different about the way that they're doing it versus everything that you're seeing out there being thrown our way. And so, yeah, I wanted to have this conversation with her on the probiotic space in general, on what even is a probiotic. You know, I feel like so many of us have taken probiotics and like, what the hell actually even is it? Like, what's happening in our systems? Why do we need them? I definitely asked her that question pretty intensely. I was like, do we really even need them if we are having diverse diets and if we're really getting nutrients in from our food? So we really go there in this conversation. And one of the things that really struck me about Anabel was her postpartum story, which is actually what started her path on starting Good Bacteria. And I feel like it's a conversation that, yes, has gotten a lot more airtime, which I'm so happy about. But I think the mental health component in general, even if you're not a mom, I'm not a mom, and this conversation resonated with me so deeply on reconnecting with our bodies. And when we feel disconnected and out of our bodies, the toll that takes on us in every aspect of life. So I just really, really deeply enjoyed this conversation. And I did want to say one thing that I find to be the most interesting part, aside from her story and her energy and the integrity that I feel in the brand. What I also thought was really interesting, and if you are watching on YouTube, I will show it, but the way that they're doing it is they have 28 sachets. Is that how you say it? Like they have 28. It's not capsulated probiotics. It's in powder form. You put it in your water, which has taken some getting used to for me because I have taken probiotics in capsule format up until I started taking Good Bacteria. And it's done week by week. So every week you have a different mix of strains to keep your microbiome diverse, which is what she's saying was completely missing in the space. Every health practitioner and doctor that she was seeing for trying to heal her own self was like, you need to switch it up. You need to switch up your probiotics in order to keep your microbiome thriving. And she was like, why doesn't it exist already that there's one brand that can offer that type of diversity? So the way that they do it is week by week, you'll have a different mix of strains. And I find that to be so interesting. I haven't seen anybody do that before. And it makes sense to me. I mean, with a lot of these things, your body just becomes tolerant or just gets used to certain things. Thought that was super cool. So in this episode, we're chatting about Anabel's experience with postpartum depression, ketamine therapy, nourishment, and fermented foods. We get into probiotics, and really we get into pre, pro, and postbiotics because that's what Good Bacteria is. It's the mix of those three. And what they're actually doing for us, why we need them, and why we need to switch up our probiotics constantly. And we get into how she's building a brand in a very saturated space and how she's keeping herself and the brand in integrity during this time. So it's a very complete episode, I feel. I felt so good chatting with her, and I went to go meet her in person. She was doing a pop-up at Happier Grocery in New York, which, by the way, they are sold in New York at Happier Grocery if you want to try it out for yourself. And she's just as good energy in person as she was in the show. She's just like a really, really thoughtful leader in the space that I feel really good around and think that these are the types of brands that I want to see thrive. So I hope that you enjoy. And Anabel, welcome to the show. Let's get started. I am really excited to talk to you about all things good bacteria, but also just your story, the verbiage on your site, and everything that you were talking about remembering and returning, coming back home to yourself, and your journey with your body really spoke to me. And there's something about you and your energy that really stopped me. So I'm very excited to talk all
Thank
things
you.
your story and good bacteria and how bold it is also to be going into this category at this time. Bold.
For sure.
Can we talk
Definitely.
about that? How are you feeling
Yeah.
about entering a very loud category? It's still unregulated for the most part. How does it feel to still go for it even though it's loud?
For sure. To be honest with you, I've had to put my blinders on since day one. I think with any market that is like quote unquote oversaturated,
Yeah.
if you build with an awareness of that, then you're not going to do a whole lot. My little brother, he was a swimmer when he was young, and I would always tell him to just like keep swimming and you don't need to look at the other swimmers, you know? And I think that
Yeah.
is really how I feel like I have really tried to build good bacteria. I've specifically avoided big conventions like supply side and different things like that because I just don't want to know. I don't want to know what else is out there because I think if I built in that way with an awareness of how many people are out there in the market, we wouldn't be where we are. And so I just try to stay super hyper focused on creating a product with a beautiful brand that comes from a place of integrity with the cleanest ingredients. And also, I believe that we're on the cutting edge of microbiome science, and I just kind of try to lean into that as much as possible. It is definitely a loud space, but in that, there is still a lack of, I think, integrity, transparency, a rigorous approach to the science, to the brand, to the communications. I think we really try to be as meticulous as possible across the board, and I believe that that will over time speak for itself and
Yeah,
people will, yeah, believe in us.
for sure. What were you feeling like was missing in the conversation when it comes to microbiome and probiotics? What were you like, this is just not cutting it, that I have to be the one to do it?
Yeah, so my story actually started after I had my son. I had severe postpartum depression and I gained 80 pounds. And I did some therapy to get my brain to a baseline, but then there was a lot of healing to do. So as I was looking for purpose, I found this program at the Integrative Institute for Nutrition and I got certified as a health coach. And I started learning that gut diversity is the strongest indicator of a healthy gut. We need to be consuming a wide variety of microbes, which is why fermented foods are so beneficial. And I had heard doctors and healthcare professionals say, hey, switch up your probiotics. You need to be taking breaks from your probiotics and trying different brands. And it was kind of like a light bulb moment where I realized nobody was addressing that. So I reached out to a doctor who I actually saw a video of her on YouTube, and I was like, that's my girl. She's a Johns Hopkins doctor, Dr. Lee Frame.
You just
And she,
randomly came across her YouTube?
oh yeah, every single person in Good Bacteria's orbit stemmed from a cold outreach. I'm a big cold
Obsessed.
outreach cold
Obsessed.
outreach girly. Love a cold outreach. So Dr. Frame said, yeah, I'll build it with you. And I always joke like now, obviously, we have investors, we have a brand, we have a product, we have customers, and all kinds of team members. But at the time, I was just a mom with an idea. And Dr. Frame is a Johns Hopkins doctor, but she's also a yogi. And she just says that she had a really great gut feeling about it. And yeah, that was 2 years ago. So
Wow. I want to double click on your journey, the postpartum journey part of it. At what point were you like, this is just not normal? This is not normal postpartum.
yeah, honestly, this is crazy. I had depression, which you don't really realize when you're young, but I battled with depression my whole life. So I think I was super used to what mild depression felt like. I say
Like
mild now
what?
that I've experienced postpartum depression.
Yeah. Can you
Um,
explain what that is so people know
yeah,
when you're saying mild, what did that feel like?
I think I had a really hard time feeling present in my own body, feeling excited about life. I had a lot of anxiety and I had trouble focusing on things. I didn't feel super driven to really accomplish things. I didn't believe in myself. I think there is a lot in there that I was able to unpack in this healing journey later. But I think the depression that I experienced after I had my son, I kind of knew that I would have some encounter with postpartum depression. I didn't know what postpartum depression was. And oh my God, I mean, I say it's like the final boss of depression. I had night sweats, I had paranoid thoughts, I had like vivid flashes of bad things happening to my son and my family. I could not get out of bed. I felt so much shame and guilt for feeling that way when I had this beautiful, newborn, amazing child and baby
Mhm.
and sweet guy, Teddy, is his name. And yeah, it was a really intense season. And actually, I went into my OBGYN office and I was like, I'm not okay. And she said, you can either go back on SSRIs or you can do a series of ketamine infusions, psychedelic therapy. And I was like, I will do that. And so I went and I did 2 weeks, 6 infusions,
Mhm.
and I can't even tell you it not only did it heal my brain from postpartum depression, but it healed me from a lifelong battle with depression and miraculous. Like I want to shout it from the rooftops. I want to tell every mom on the
Wait,
planet
tell
that
me
this therapy
more.
is out there.
Tell me
Yeah.
more. I mean, it's been popping up, and I actually know a lot of people that have done it themselves and they say the same thing, but I want to hear from you. The process of even committing to doing that, was that scary for you to try something like that?
It wasn't because I was so
Desperate.
desperate. I was so desperate. And I really trust my doctor who delivered my son very much. And so, she's not a woo-woo doctor. Like she's a very legitimate doctor. She went to Georgetown. I very much actually went on her podcast to talk about my
Nice.
experience. Shout out to Dr. Ali Abadi. But she saved me. She saved me. And I feel like it was after that that my brain sort of was in a healthy place. And then I was like, okay, my brain's okay now, but my body was still not okay. I had a lot of healing to do. So that was why I decided to do that program and learn about gut health, which led to me fermenting my own foods. And I had jars all over my kitchen. And I was like, how can I create a really easy way to consume a variety of microbes? If our guts need diversity, how can we create a system for that? And so that's how Good Bacteria was born.
Okay, can we I want to stay in the ketamine of it all
Yeah,
for
let's do
just a
it.
little bit. Yeah, like what? Because I feel like everything is interconnected, as you know.
hmm
Everything is, but what is it that you're addressing and actually confronting moving through when you're doing
Mm.
those sessions that you couldn't do in regular therapy or in just like living your life without the ketamine?
I will say that there are a lot of components to the psychedelic therapy that are in place. So basically, when you go there, you're also having this spiritual experience, right? Like in the
Right.
moment, you're basically, so let me back up and I'll tell you what a ketamine infusion is like. Okay. You go
Yeah.
into the office and there's a room, there's a camera where the nurses can see you the whole time. You get hooked up to an IV, you get blindfolded, and you get some headphones so you can listen to like peaceful, calming music. And then you can either do a 50-minute infusion or you can do an extended 80-minute. For the first 2 weeks, I did the
Hmm.
regular 50-minute infusions. And basically, you take off into another dimension. I can't even explain it to you. It is definitely a spiritual experience. But then also, what's happening is that your actual brain is being rewired. And so it's fixing your brain in a way that I can't break down to you because I'm not a scientist and I'm focused on gut health, not on the brain and
Right.
ketamine therapy. But it did heal. It healed my brain. And then I was also fortunate to find a therapist through the clinic and have done a lot of EMDR therapy, which was just kind of a added thing that I wasn't expecting. And I was able to actually heal a lot of the things that I had, we have things that we've been through as
Yeah.
children. And so the combination of those therapies helped me immensely. So I think it healed my brain, but it also helped me reprocess a lot of the things that I needed to confront. And I believe that that led me to this passion for gut health, which then led me to starting my own company. I
Right.
never would have been able to start my own company if I hadn't gone
Healed
through
that.
that therapy. Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. It's honestly so fascinating. And I have been hearing it more and more. What do you think it is about birth or the birthing process that for so many people it results in, yes, your baby and also a postpartum? Aside from the obvious, the hormone drop and all of those physical things, what do you think it is
Mm.
spiritually about birth that makes it so that you cannot not see these things?
That's a great question. I think it's incredibly overwhelming to have a baby. the emotions that arise in that moment when your hormones are all messed up. It's this like instant thing where you're just jolted into momhood. You're no longer the woman that you were. You are this new mom. You also are so connected to this little being, but it's also incredibly isolating. Um, there isn't a lot of support or education that goes into that process. Like, no one tells you what to expect. I had a C-section and
Mm.
I was, told to leave. You leave the hospital like 2 or 3 days after you give birth, and then you have to physically take care of this little baby when you just had surgery. When
Yeah.
people have that kind of intense surgery, you are like, I don't know,
Like you
in
need to
bed.
recover, but
Yeah,
you're
you
like, now
recover
I'm
from it.
mothering and recovering.
Exactly. And so I think there's so much, it's so complex. And the identity kind of crisis that I think emerges in a woman when you leave the woman that you were and you become a mom, there's so many beautiful things about it. And there are also some incredibly complicated elements of that, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. It's really hard to put into words. Yeah.
As you're speaking, something is coming through for me that it's like, I wonder if you take the choice of like what you did, which is confront and move through instead of numb, because that's another choice that people can do. You can numb and you can go down that path. But I feel like that break open of giving birth, I feel like maybe it makes some women have to go through that because like it wants you to be the absolute best mother that you possibly can be. In order to do that, you have to confront those things. You can't run from that anymore. So it's like maybe it boils up to the surface on purpose to be like, hey, it's here. And if you want to do it the way that you really want to do it, you have to look at all these things. And then some women choose to do that. And then some maybe choose or are unable to do that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that brings me to, I think, the concept of resilience. Like for me in my life, I've had to reach rock bottoms in order to transform and kind of be
Mm-hmm.
like the phoenix rising from the dust, And I
Yep.
think that for women, it's interesting to think about that, because you do in some ways, at least for me, I felt like I've reached a rock bottom. And the only way out from a rock bottom is through. You have to break through. And then when you break through, you sort of have this esteemable acts, right? Build self-esteem. I think as a mom, that process of healing from postpartum and choosing my son and choosing my family and choosing myself day after day after day, even when I wanted to give up, it helped me build self-esteem. It helped me create a relationship with myself where I am really proud of myself.
I'm so proud too. And I just met you. But I feel like that's such a
Thank you.
beautiful thing because it is a choice. It's a choice.
Yeah.
And like not all people do choose it. And that's
Mhm.
just not what they're here to do on this like time on earth. But it's huge and brave that you did. And I just think that if people can hear that and see that as the opportunity, the doorway to having a beautiful, abundant, present, remembering type life,
Mm.
it's cool to see examples like that you're doing it.
I love that. I
Yeah.
guess, how have you felt like resilience has showed up in your life?
Similar, and I don't know that I want to buy into this narrative for forever because I think that in like maybe the first half of your life, it's important to have that intense fire, rock bottom, touch
Mm.
fire type thing. Yeah, I struggled with anxiety when I was in college, Florida State. It definitely like bubbled up there. And it was a lot of that rock bottom type, like really touching darkness, in order to see the light. And I do think that that's probably something that you're going to experience on some level throughout your whole life, like when you're in seasons of changing and upgrading and up leveling. But I wonder if it's absolutely necessary to always touch fire in order to
Mm.
grow, or is there a world where you can be in constant process and growth without having to have to go through that level of darkness? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
totally know what you mean. Yeah, I think that that's awesome.
Like, I just wonder if it's just like you go through it maybe one or two times and then you're on the
Yeah.
other side of it and you keep, I don't know. I do wonder that, but I think in general, the growth typically for me so far has been through going through really hard shit.
Yeah.
Or
And I think that
it.
certain people go through like that there is that really deep moment of intense fire. I feel like my favorite people in the world have had that moment. And that doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily mean that, you have to keep kind of touching fire. Like you said, I love that way of phrasing
Exactly.
it.
It's like I don't want like that's exactly it. Like I just don't I am in a pursuit of living my most true, magnetic, expanded, remembered life, right?
Mhm.
Like that's what I'm here to do. And I want that for everyone too. And I'm just like, is it necessary in order to do that? Like I don't want the narrative to be like in order to do that, then you're going to have to keep looking for the fire that you need to touch. And you know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah,
you just get stronger and then yes, a challenge will come, but it doesn't feel like the original fire of your postpartum because you are different.
totally. 1,000%. There is a little bit of an obsession in this healing culture with touching fire, to some
Yes.
degree or another.
That's exactly. I'm like, is it necessary? Like what would it be like to just like be at peace and trust that our natural state is to evolve and
Yes,
transcend
totally. A
with
thousand
any
percent.
little thing, any big or little thing, you know?
Hmm.
Anyway, we've gone down a path. But okay,
I love
so
it.
I also want to hear about your journey with your body and how that process was for you. I feel like all I know is what I read on the site, which was that you had gained weight through the pregnancy and that you were kind of like feeling like you weren't at home in your own body.
Mm.
How did you start to come back home and start to feel like you were in there again?
Well, I think part of it was foundationally, it was that therapy that I did because I was
Yeah.
sort of existing outside of my own body. But once I was able to kind of get my mind into a healthy place and come back into myself, when you when your body changes that quickly after giving birth, I think that there was a lot of like self-loathing that I had. I hated the way I looked. Like I remember I went to a Lady Gaga concert right after I had my son and I put on these jeans and I will never forget how I felt in those jeans. I just wanted to like break down and cry in my closet. I was like, "Oh my God, I just feel so hideous." And I think through this process of healing and creating a connection with myself and loving myself, I really truly love my body in every form. After you have a child, your body changes in so many ways, especially, you have a C-section and you have a scar and all that stuff. I just think that every day I am working on loving myself and building a relationship with myself. Like my son is 3 years old, and I always say that if I can accomplish these two things and I don't accomplish anything else as a mom, I'm winning. And the two things are creating a really strong sense of self. Every day we get up and he does his affirmations and he says, I'm strong, I'm powerful. And he growls at the end like a lion at the mirror. And
I
then
cannot.
I have to
Can you
send you a
send me a video
video.
of this? I will not
Yes.
post it. I just want to
Yes.
see it.
Because it's kind of a two-pronged thing. It's like A, building a relationship with yourself, and he does the Mel Robbins high five in the mirror. And then it's the roar into the mirror because it's sort of like, how do you want to set the energy for your day? Like, what frequency do you want to choose for the day? How do you want to
Mhm.
show up? And so I feel like that is one element. And then the other is really creating that connection to the world around him. I think we grow up and at least my generation of parents, they're a little bit different than we are. And I think it's really important to create a connection with nature and other people and humans and sort of how he relates to the world. Um, if I can get those two things right, then I think I'm
I feel
going to
like
succeed
it's
as
a
a mom.
natural, yeah, I feel like it's a natural byproduct that you're going to hit those two things if you're doing those two things, you know?
Yep. Yep.
How
That's
do
very true.
you how do you tap into those two things for yourself?
Honestly, I have seasons where I'm better at doing those things than others. I think right now I'm in a season where I've been so focused on launch that I have parted from my things that I do. I'm one of those people that needs all the tools. And in this season, I haven't been
Same.
using all the tools.
Mm.
And when you're someone who has used tools for a long time, I think you can kind of afford to run on fumes a little bit, but then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh wait, I need my thing." So that's
What are
kind of
yours?
the season now. Well, for sure exercise is like
What type?
foundational. I love hot classes. Like I love hot yoga,
Me
inferno
too.
Pilates, stuff like that. I love to just sweat and be like drenched after a workout.
Me
I think it's
too.
yeah. So I would say that's like the foundational one. But also, I did this exercise as I was healing when I started Good Bacteria, which was in affirmations. I would listen to affirmations, I would say them, and I would write them. And I think that was just like pinging different parts of my brain and really rewiring, my belief in self and all that good stuff. So I think those two are my main ones. What are yours?
Oh my God. I love that narrative of like, if you've done it for a long time, that you can afford to run on fumes. Like, I kind of love that. My lesson right now is to also just give myself permission to play around with it, not having to be the thing, like not over identifying with it, but all the things, meditation, journaling. This is like, sounds kind of basic, but like very much listening to my body cues on like, what do I actually want to nourish myself with that day? My first half of the day, all my tools are very active. I don't have that many like evening tools, you know? Yeah, but writing, humongous for me, like huge. And then hot yoga. I'm also a yoga teacher. And
Oh, you are? Cool.
yeah, but I have so many tools. My toolbox is enormous, but the ones that are constant every single day, no matter what, is meditating, journaling. And then I'll read something like similar to the affirmation, like listening, but I'll read something that is just a reminder. Which is why I gravitated to your brand so much, which was that verbiage of like, remember, like we need to remember. Like it's not so much that it's like new news, but what I'm writing helps me remember. When I'm reading somebody else's words that are truth telling, it helps me remember. The things that I keep in my home help me remember. Like what I choose in my day, like every single thing that I do is to be in a constant state of remembrance. That's it. And yeah, that's like my morning is a little bit more on lock. My evening, there's always like a tea involved, but other than that, and candles, like fire. I think that like the element of fire being around me is really helpful. But
I love that you're a tea lady. I'm a tea lady too.
I know we're two grandmothers here.
We really are. We
I'm a
probably would
huge
have
tea
been friends
lady.
back in the day too.
Yeah,
And
for
a
sure.
totally
We
different
probably were
vibe.
literally at Heathrow, like, you
Yeah, like
know, and now grandmothers. But wait, so that was your first thing because you said that the two things for your norths for being a mom were that. The second one was about the connection to nature and the world around your son. How do you do that for yourself?
Well, I will say Oregon has some beautiful, beautiful trails. So I try to
Yeah.
get outside and walk as much as possible. It's really funny. Teddy's dad yesterday, he was like, I got this grounding mat. I bought a grounding mat. You should buy one. And it was just so funny to hear that because how disconnected have we become from the soil that we're ordering these mats on Amazon that like replicate what it is to just walk outside,
I know. And it's funny because you really can find it anywhere. I'm in Brooklyn and I very much find it here. That's also one of my tools that is a non-negotiable. Even if it's like walking to the subway and like touching a tree, I am that person. Like
Totally.
we have to. Like we literally have to. I have to, at least in my
I think we
system.
all do. That's where we come from. I feel a radical difference after walking through Forest Park. It's called here. It's like a big, lush, beautiful
Yeah.
forest. I feel like a different human walking out of that park. It's not always easy to be like, oh, I'm going to use a tool. Like it's so easy not to actually.
Yeah.
At
So
least
how
for
do
me
you
in
feel
this
right now
season.
in the season that you're not using them as much?
I feel like I'm running on fumes a little bit. I have just started to go back. Like I think last week I started journaling again, and it's always just do one thing. If you start with one, just do the one thing. If it's journaling, if it's listening to affirmations, for me at least, that's how I can get myself back into the groove. Is just committing to one thing, and then
Yeah.
everything else starts to follow.
Yeah. At what point in your process did you start to feel back in your body?
I think it was after I did that treatment. After I did that treatment, I started to kind of be like, okay, I am in my body, my brain is centered, I feel okay. And then I remember listening to the Mel Robbins podcast. Every morning, I would push my son in his stroller and I would listen to Mel Robbins. And I think that there is this like warrior gene that women have. And when you can tap into that, I think we're just kind of unstoppable.
No,
And I
women,
really
it's
feel like
just-
that's what I did with the help of Mel Robbins.
Also, Mel, like she crushes.
Oh my gosh, love her.
Oh, incredible. Incredible.
Have
Okay.
you read her new book?
I haven't let them.
Yeah.
I haven't. And have you?
I started listening to the audiobook. It's really good.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm in awe of her, so I definitely will read it at some point. I will say, I'm just curious, what is in the book that is not in the subject? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, what more is there to say? I feel like it's such a powerful 2 words. Like, let them.
No,
Like,
that's
what
a
more is
great
there
point.
to say?
No, honestly, I can't argue that. Like 1,000%, you got it. That's what it is.
I'm like, do you need to read a whole book to like really like let it sink in? I'm like, it's so powerful that I'm like, I don't even need to freaking read it. Like,
Totally. I think
it's
that's
registered and it's integrated into my system. And I honestly, I really do live by that sometimes.
I love that. Yep.
But I'm sure that there's probably amazing things in there that I probably will read at some point. Okay, I want to get into probiotics, and I want to also give you a little context on my background with it. I've worked in this space for my entire career. I know every supplement under the sun, know the founders, have had some of them on this podcast. And there was an era in the health and wellness space where it was so much that my kitchen was every supplement that you could think of, I was taking. And I thought that that was making me like superhuman in some way. And I definitely hit a wall with it. I was like, I don't know what the hell anything is even doing in my system. And when you're taking so many things, you can't even pinpoint if anything is happening, like which one is the one that's doing it. And so I was overdoing it by a long shot. And then I just swung the pendulum in the other direction. And I was like, you know what? I'm going back to basics. I'm going back to literally just nourishment and sunlight and nature and yoga and breath work and connections with people that I love. And that's it. And I stopped taking absolutely everything. Like I literally take nothing except for Advil on my period. And that's it. And I was really curious to ask you this question because I really resonate with what you're doing. And I haven't taken supplements in a really long time. And I'm like, why do we need a probiotic? Is it something that we need at all times? If you're having a diverse type nourishment in your life, do you still need a probiotic? Like, yeah, talk to someone who like really, really is curious about that because I'm open, you know?
Yeah. First of all, I think a lot of people are doing exactly what you just described. Like there was kind of this season, hyper wellness season of like, I need all the things. And you could kind of see it in these videos of people with their mouth tape and their face neck mask and the red light and all the crazy things. I mean, we were losing our minds a little bit.
No. We took it far.
We took it a little too far. And I think people are now coming back to like, oh, okay, my body actually works for me when I feed it what it needs. And what it needs is colors, vegetables, different plants, fiber.
Fiber.
We love fiber, which we have fiber in our products. Since we are not a capsule, we were able to include 3 grams of fiber, which is super cool. We have 3 types of fiber.
That's incredible.
But yeah, so essentially we modern lives have chipped away at our diversity. So diversity, we need a diversity of microbes, we need a diversity of plants. You have more bacteria in your body than you have human cells. And so if you nourish that bacteria, you can radically shift how you show up in the world. And so a lot of people will say, do I need probiotics if I eat fermented foods? Honestly, no, if you eat 6 servings of fermented foods a day. I'm a fermented food fanatic and I don't eat 6 servings of fermented foods a day.
I don't eat any fermented foods.
Well, there you go. So Dr. Frame calls it like a multivitamin for your gut. It's basically like in the same way that you're not getting all the nutrients that you need in your diet and you take a multivitamin, well, people are not eating, even hyper wellness people like me are not eating enough fermented foods.
Let's say that you're living on this mountain and the soil is rich. Would we still need to supplement? Because I feel like sometimes people forget that the word supplement is to supplement something that is missing. And like, obviously I live in New York. I'm not in a mountain with all my needs met nourishment wise. But if you were living in that, would you still need to supplement?
I love that it's a mountain too, because I just see the whole,
I need to
picture.
paint the picture. It's like, you know, you've got your garden and your chickens and all that going on for you.
And the mountain. Yeah,
and the mountains
and
like
in a mountain.
And like unadulterated soil. I do want to talk to you about soil, but if you had all of those things in this perfect utopian situation, would you still need to supplement?
If you were living on a mountain and you had your own produce, which by the way, eating locally from the soil around you fresh is going to be way better for your microbiome than going to the market. Shout out to farmers markets. No, You wouldn't. If you were fermenting your own foods and you had your own chickens and you had clean soil and you were eating tons of plant species, absolutely not. You wouldn't actually need to supplement. So the issue is that
that makes me trust you more.
So disconnected from that. And so this is really not a, hey, you should take this instead of eating your fermented foods. It's just an acknowledgement of the fact that we need this because we're not connected to our soil. We're not eating enough fermented foods. Humans used to eat hundreds of plant species a year, and now we have very limited plant varieties. And I, as a healthy person, I think I'm hitting all my markers, right? And I'm like, oh, I get some broccoli, I get some beets. I found this guy on Instagram who is like a plant guru in Southeast Asia. And the plant varieties that he is posting, I have never seen any of them before. And I'm like,
so cool.
It's
so cool.
Yeah. So
can we talk about the soil of it all? I think about that so much. Even if you're planting your own things, would it still be okay? I don't know.
If you were planting your own foods and buying produce at the farmer's market, those plants have way more nutrients than plants that you're getting from the supermarket. Okay. So if you can grow your own plants and eat from your own garden, that's one of the best things you can do for your microbiome. I'm fortunate to live in Oregon. We have amazing farmers markets. I don't have a garden, but I go to the farmers market religiously. Living in Puerto Rico, even though Puerto Rico, that's where I grew up in Puerto Rico, even though the soil there is so rich, it's interesting. They actually get most of their food comes from container ships from the US. And there's this new kind of regenerative movement in Puerto Rico to bring the soil, bring the food back to the island.
Something tells me Bad Bunny's behind it. Something tells me Bad Bunny's out there talking to farmers and being like, let's get our shit together and do it ourselves.
I love that man. Okay.
Me too. Have you gone? Have you gone?
I almost went. I was supposed to go, and because of the launch, I had to move it. But he built his childhood home in the center of the Coliseum in Puerto Rico.
I have like full body chills. I love that man so much. But I feel like if there was someone who was going to address the soil problem in Puerto Rico, it would be him. And like he would get it done.
Yeah, fully agree. Bad Bunny is the real deal. He really is a true embodiment of Puerto Rico, like in human form.
It makes me so happy. I love to see his success.
Being, but so are Puerto Ricans. And really, he's a very special being, but Puerto Ricans are like Bad Bunny. That is the energy that is in Puerto Rico. And I'm so lucky to have grown up there. I actually want to spend more time there with my son.
If I were you, I would want that too.
Yeah,
for sure. For sure. Okay. Yeah. So can you also explain what is a pre, pro, and postbiotic?
Yes. So those three elements are in fermented foods, by the way. So a lot of probiotics on the market don't actually have those three elements. But essentially, prebiotic fibers are going to feed your gut bugs. So they feed your existing gut bugs and they help the probiotics, the beneficial bacteria, get delivered into your body. And probiotics are the beneficial bacteria. And postbiotics are actually byproducts of probiotics. So the metabolites and the compounds that are produced by probiotics and prebiotics. So that is a symbiotic. They are in synergy together. And all of those three elements exist in fermented foods, which I just said at the beginning, but just to circle it back.
But like, this might be like a nerdy question, but why would you need a postbiotic if the pre and the pro together make the post? Why would you need to add the post to the mix?
So actually, because the postbiotic on its own already has beneficial, specific, and activated microbes that are going to be additionally beneficial to your body. But probiotics inherently have postbiotics in them because live bacteria doesn't all stay alive. And so actually, I went to the Stanford Fermented Food Conference recently, and there was a big theme that a lot of the scientists were talking about, which is there's been this obsession in the marketing world of like live equals better. And I learned recently that postbiotics have a very promising future.
And they're not live?
No.
Interesting. So what is a probiotic doing in your body, in your gut? And what can someone expect to feel when they are taking a quality probiotic?
So it's basically delivering this beneficial bacteria to your gut ecosystem, to the colony of microbes that you have in your gut, which is modulating your microbiome.
Can you also explain what a microbiome is if someone's listening that doesn't know?
Yes. So you have more than half bacteria in your body than you have human cells. Specifically, the gut microbiome is the lining. So you have a very thin lining in your digestive system that essentially blocks out the bad stuff and lets the good stuff in. And that's where leaky gut comes from. So when you don't have tight junctions in your gut, you have loose junctions, your body is more prone to inflammation and chronic disease because essentially the toxins that are going into your body's not able to block them out. And it's also not able to absorb the nutrients and the vitamins that it needs to release into your blood to thrive. So that's why the gut lining is so important. And actually, a more resilient gut lining is linked to diversity. So that's pretty much why we've developed this product, because if you have a more diverse gut microbiome, you have a more resilient gut, which leads to all of these better health outcomes.
That is fascinating. And no one has ever explained it to me like that. So it's kind of like a sheet in there that is like,
exactly.
It's like a boundary. It's literally a boundary.
Literally. And it's very, very thin. And I wish that Dr. Frame has she's an educator. She has such a beautiful way of explaining these things. And I wish that she were on this call to talk about it, because she actually does a way better job than I do.
Maybe we'll do a part 2, the three of us, and we can talk science and we can talk more about the live of it all, because I have heard from very popular probiotic brands on the market, like that's been a key messaging point of like that it survives the entire digestive tract, and that if it's alive in your feces, then that means it's doing its job.
So let me just tell you a little something. Basically, okay. So when a probiotic is quote unquote reaching your gut, that means that it is showing up in your stool. And so there is actually no way to measure if that is actually modulating your microbiome. So if you
what does it mean to modulate your microbiome?
To have an impact, to basically have a specific impact on your gut microbiome that is resulting in blank. And so when you eat fermented foods are not encapsulated. When you are exposed to microbes in your foods, they're not encapsulated. And just because something is reaching your stool, that's all that means.
It doesn't mean that it did anything from point A to point B. Like it
exactly.
did it. Got it.
And what's interesting,
it's like it needed to do something in the middle.
Yep, exactly. And what's interesting is that a lot of these companies that have encapsulations are relying on strain science, right? And so they're basically putting strains in their product, and they're saying our strain has these scientific studies behind it, so we're going to borrow those, and we're going to say that our product is going to give you better immunity, it's going to give you better digestion, because strains like the one in our product, for example, LGG, has been studied with tons of clinical trials tying it to these specific outcomes, right? But what's interesting is that in those studies, they were not using encapsulation technology.
That is fascinating. That is really, really interesting. So how do you choose which strains to focus on? Because there's so many, right?
Yeah, so we are partnered with Novonesis. They're formerly Christian Hansen. They are the most reputable supplier in the game. So we have LGG and BB12 in our product with over 200 clinical trials. So we also have a number of amazing strains that have been formulated to support a number of health outcomes.
Like when people are looking for probiotics, what are the main things that they're looking to heal?
Digestion. I think that's the main one. People want to have regularity. They have IBS. They have issues with bloating. And so I think that's the main one. But I will say that the market has really moved from this like niche to necessity. I think that people are understanding that gut health is a holistic thing. It's basically defining how your whole body feels.
Yeah.
I think before it used to be more specific. Like people wanted to treat more specific outcomes, and that's what we're really excited about, is creating a product that basically has a compounding effect to over time build up that diversity so that you have better human health outcomes overall. Even though, again, we do have strains with a lot of backing, because we wanted to make sure to work with the most reputable supplier and have the best probiotics in the game. But more excited about creating this systems focused approach, this way of like nurturing your gut microbiome over time. We intentionally selected lower CFU counts, and our CFUs cycle up and down. We also intentionally included 3 types of fiber for that diversity, but included 3 grams, which is a substantial amount, but also not too much, so it's not going to like overload your system. So it's really designed.
What type of fiber is it?
So we included FOSS, organic acacia fiber, and organic green banana flour. I have been putting green banana flour in my smoothies for a very long time, so that's where that came from. Yeah.
So wild. I also want to talk about, which by the way, your packaging and everything about it is so beautiful, but I want to talk about how it's per week and how switching it up is key and a differentiator for good bacteria. Does it matter which week you start on with your cycle, because it's based off of a 28-day, right?
It is, yeah. So we specifically designed week 1 to be like a gentle introductory period, and then week 3 has the highest microbial inputs, and then it cycles back down. We also included LGG in the first 2 weeks specifically.
Okay.
And the idea behind it is that you are not exposed to the same microbes every day in nature. You wouldn't eat the same foods every day, and your microbes shouldn't either. So we really want to feed that ecosystem and build up that diversity to have that effect over time.
I'm obsessed with this. So what is your hope with this? What is your bigger why? I'm also curious because you seem to have had such a crazy, amazing response to the ketamine therapy, and you could have gone down that rabbit hole, the thing that changed your life, and like you want to shout it from the rooftops. You could have done something in that camp. What was it about this that you're like, no, this is where I want to put all my energy and focus on? Like you could have become a nutrition coach. You could have helped people through postpartum depression in some way. There's so many different things that you could have done from having touched bottom the way that you did. Why this?
I think that I equally want to shout, and I have scared people with it, you are more than half bacteria from the rooftops. And
Yeah.
I do. I think that I am really inspired to solve problems. And so I think that it was very clear to me that this was a really big problem and it was a really big need. Diversity is at the core of the health of our soil, our ecosystem, and our bodies. And it was really clear to me that it wasn't a trend. It's not, gut health is not just like a trendy thing. Like we are literally, like I said, you are more than half bacteria. So I think I was more inspired early on to solve this problem because it was so clear to me. But then in connecting with people and women and realizing how gut health ties to your brain, to your hormones, to your skin, to everything, it just kind of felt like a really clear calling to create something that could help people and also is coming from a place of integrity and not just doing like another kind of snake oily supplement thing. I really had this need for myself to consume different microbes and to consume a product that is clean with no fillers and no junk, and I wanted it for myself. So that's kind of how
Those are the
I got
founders that
here.
are most inspiring to me. I'm like, when you're solving for your own needs, but that's why I asked the question, because I feel so many people might resonate with having that rock bottom type thing. And there's many ways that you could go. There's many avenues that a person can take on how to be of service post that bottom. But it's cool that this is where you landed and this is what you're focusing your energy on. It's very, very cool.
Thank you. And I will say, once Good Bacteria is up and running, I am excited to focus on a nonprofit for psychedelic therapy for moms. Because I think that it's just, I can't tell you how much it helped me. Honestly, it makes me a little emotional. And
Yeah.
I
mean,
think
beautiful.
moms are the greatest. I think moms make the world go round. And yeah.
Moms are everything and more. Like they
Yeah.
truly, really, really, really are. They're the force. They're the source and the force and all of it.
Moms and women, I think, overall.
Yeah.
We're just total badasses.
Completely. I want to know what little Anabel was like. I ask this question to everyone on the show, and I feel like when people are living and building in integrity or in a way that makes them feel so alive and connected and in that remembering type zone, a lot of the times I feel like they have returned back to a younger essence. Like there's something that was like the unconditioned, preconditioned version of themselves that they've been able to re-access.
Oh,
And
I love that.
I'm curious what, if anything, comes up for you of like, I feel that little me in here in what I'm doing.
What a beautiful thing that is. I love that way of thinking about it. And immediately I thought she was fierce. Little me was very, very fierce and powerful. Actually have a story that my grandma is, by the way, my sole inspiration for everything that I have done.
Same.
Really?
That makes me love you so much more. Yes. Yes.
What did you call her?
Alita, she's still alive. She's 98.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
98?
No.
Oh
Like
my
she's
God.
my north in life. Literally.
Oh my gosh. Okay, love that.
Yeah.
My grandma,
Yours.
I called her Mammy. And she actually
Angel.
passed right during that time that I started Good Bacteria, which I didn't talk about, but that was a whole thing in the EMDR, was like finding her and downloading her kind of power into me, which she was a businesswoman. She was a combination of Ina Garten and like an old school football coach, I always say. She was like
Could that combo be any better? Are you kidding me? Oh my God. What was her business?
I loved her, Mammy. She was the president of a publicly traded commercial real estate company, if you can believe it. She worked her way up when women were, back in the day, were just, mostly secretaries and in that industry. Yeah. And she was a beast. And she had these two gears. I would call her and sometimes she was like, hey, Belly, like a grandma, she called me Belly. And other times she'd be like, Belly, what's up? I got my business hat on. And she was from the South. And just a character. So
what was the story that she would tell you about little you?
Oh, okay. So I have this image of myself wearing Lion King panties on my head. And I was so mad at everyone in my family one day. And I just go out into the living room and I say, I don't need you. I don't need anyone. And then I go, Arr!
Wait, the fact that your son is doing that post affirmations, like, have you connected that?
That's amazing, actually.
Like,
I actually haven't connected that.
Like, that's very huge.
Oh God, that's amazing. I just got chills.
Me too. I'm like about to cry, actually.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
That's
that
so
it
beautiful.
was, Mammy really inspired me to like take up space in the world, and I had to kind of grow up to tap into that.
Do you
I
feel
think
like
we
you
all
lost
should.
that?
I did. Oh yeah. For sure. That was part of my journey, was figuring out how to become this woman who is like creating and taking up space and not worried about whoever thinks what they think about me. I think that's a big blocker for most people.
At this phase right now where you're stepping in, you've launched this thing. It's so cool. It's different. I feel like you're blossoming. What is something that's coming up for you that you're working through or with right now? Whether it's something that you're unlearning. Sometimes I feel like when we're in these big up levels, something comes up at the same time that you're like, oh, I'm working with this at the same time,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it's a balance. I think it's really working every day to derive my value based on like how I am as a mom and who I am as a family member. Work is so up and down. Building a startup is so up and down. You have like high highs, low lows. If that were to kind of like define my value of self or my emotional regularity, I would not be okay. So I think I really just try to remember that my number one thing is to be Anabel the mom. And that is what I'm challenging myself to lean into every day, if that makes sense.
I love that. I love that. For any listener, let's close it with this. For any listener who is extremely inspired by you and your story and is like, everyone that listens to Active Ingredient, I also think is on that journey of remembering and returning. And yeah, what would you tell them when they're in like the midst of that process? It's an ongoing life thing, but like if they're in the thick of it right now, what would you tell them?
In the thick of what exactly?
In the thick of like maybe I don't know if it's postpartum specifically but they're in like the stickier part of the process maybe. What would you tell them to leave them with that?
I think just that like we fucking got this, and sometimes you just have to tap into the fact that just believing that you can and doing one thing that you can do to just feel a little bit better, to just kind of step out of that state just 1%, if that makes sense.
I love that.
Yeah, I love people those are our people, I really truly believe that we are so powerful And
we have no idea how powerful we are.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, we have no idea how powerful. I feel like that's the thing that scares us the most.
Yeah.
Is that we really are that powerful, you know?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, well, this was a joy. I'm so excited for you. I'm excited to see this brand everywhere. And where can people find it? Where can people find you?
Thank you so much, Sophie. You're amazing. I'm really happy that we connected today. And you can find Good Bacteria on our website. It's goodbacteria.com. Our Instagram is also It's Good Bacteria. And we are actually launching retail at Happier Grocer on November 14th. So if you're in New York City, come check us out.
Lots of New York listeners. Amazing. Congrats. I'm going to keep you posted on my journey with taking it. You've converted someone who has really swung the pendulum. Like I promise you, I swung the pendulum so far because I was like, I cannot do this to my body anymore. And you have convinced me. Not even convinced. I actually don't even like that word. You've inspired me to want to do this for myself. So I've already started my process. I'll keep you posted on how it continues.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you.
I'm really excited to hear about it.
All right.